Welcome to Larry's Library. This week, I'm taking a look at the Dreadstar, the definitive edition hardcover. That's a little bit of a mouthful. This is by request. One of my commenters wanted to see this up close, so I'm going to take a hard look at it now. This is a strange one, at least it has strange origins. Well, let me tell you what it is. It depends on where you look. InStockTrades.com had it listed as Dreadstar, the definitive edition hardcover. Signed edition hardcover. It said that in there too. Okay. But now when you look in the indicia, it actually says something like Dreadstar #1 in one spot. In another spot, it says Dreadstar, the definitive collection. Yeah. So I don't know. But this thing has 387 pages. And now, here's another little bit of a mystery. This whole video is going to be a mystery because this book is a mystery, all right? In the inside flap of this book, and I'll show a scan of it here, it says price $49.95. But on the solicit for this edition, the one that I ordered off of, and it says list price $29.99. Now, I got it for like $20.39 from InStockTrades.com, and they are out of stock right now at the time of this shooting. So, I don't know what to tell you, but it is a standard size hardcover. And who's it published by? Well, here's another mystery. In one place it says it's Dynamite. The listing I bought from said it's Dynamite. In the indicia, in fact, everywhere inside this book, it says it's by Dynamic Forces. Now, I know Dynamic Forces from back in the 90s, I think it was the 90s, early 2000s, where they were always usually pricey signed editions of comic books, usually Image or Top Cow or something like that. But they've done stuff with other publishers. So there's where the mystery begins. So I did some Googling, and I think his name is Nick Barucci, something like that. I don't have it in my notes, but he's the owner of Dynamic Forces and Dynamite Publishing. So apparently they're one the same, and Dynamic Forces deals with the special editions and the signed versions of things. I don't know. Somebody has better insight into that than I've got here. Put it down in the comments. Share it with the class, as they used to say at school. At the beginning of my copy, it says, this edition of Dreadstar Definitive Collection Volume 1 is signed by creator Jim Starlin and is limited to 1,000 copies, of which this is number 294. And then it's got Jim Starlin's signature, and it's real. It's not, printed. It's done with a marker. And that's in the inside front page. So, I don't know what to make of this. But before I get into more about the edition, let me talk about the creators. This is, of course, written by the great Jim Starlin, all 12 issues, and he did the art for all 12 issues. He did the pencil art for all of it. He did the inking for the majority of it. Now, later, some of the later issues are inked by Al Milgrom, and some are inked by, Joel Rubinstein and Kim DeMolder do a little bit. But the majority of it all is him doing full pencils, full inks himself. And it is fabulous. No surprise there. I'm a big fan of Jim Starlin, and yeah, it's really good stuff in here. So this collects Dreadstar 1 through 12, complete. Now, this was originally published in 1982 to 84 is when it ran. And if you don't know anything about Dreadstar, I'll try to give you a little insight into that. Dreadstar is Jim Starlin's space epic. It's cosmic. I would probably liken it more to sci-fi fantasy than hard sci-fi like Star Trek, because there's magic in here too. There's sorcery and mysticism, all that stuff that's right up Jim Starlin's alley. If you're a fan of his work at Marvel, his Warlock, the Thanos stuff, Infinity Gauntlet, and all that kind of thing, then you kind of know, you know a little bit about the cosmic Jim Starlin. But this is creator-owned Jim Starlin, and some of this was serialized, or at least the earlier stories of Jim Starlin was serialized in Epic Magazine, which was Marvel's answer to Heavy Metal. And I think they did it better, actually. I'm a big fan of that magazine. Of course, that was back in the 80s, and it is no longer published. And then he decided to make it a series, and back then, the early 80s, Marvel had their Epic line of comics too, and these were regular single issues, but with the Epic logo imprint. And I think all, if not all, most of everything they published in there was creator-owned, which was a huge departure for Marvel, and really it was a huge departure for the industry. Marvel helped push that in, the creator-owned thing that we're quite used to today. There's plenty of creator-owned stuff. Everything behind me here is pretty much creator-owned. So this book doesn't have many extras. It has an intro by the great Walt Simonson, about a page long. And other than that, it just presents the issue straight through. No page numbers, which, I hate that. But you can see the original covers, plus the original stories. And thematically, this is typical Starlin, which I'm a big fan of. He has issues with organized religion, especially large corporate-type churches are usually the bad guys in this. And this is no different. You have a couple of empires warring with each other, with Dreadstar sort of in the middle, And yeah, and one of them is this big megalopolis-style church, this huge corporate entity that became an empire, and those same themes he explored in Warlock. And it's a theme that he can't stay away from, and I get it, it's great. I'm a fan, so I love this material. I have all the singles, and I read it in that form originally. I would say if you are a fan of Dreadstar, or just of Jim Starlin specifically, and you don't have these in singles, and you have no intention of buying them in singles, then I say get this if you can still find it. It is out of stock in in-stock trades, but I imagine there's still some floating around somewhere. And even if you had to pay the inside flap price of $49.99, that's a pretty good deal, because you don't have to track down those singles then. You have them all in this, it is a standard size, and that's one of my quibbles is, why would you name something the definitive edition and not oversize this gorgeous artwork? That is a crime for me. But it is a nice volume. The binding is excellent. It has a nice eye. I think you can see that in the B shot I ran earlier. It's very robust. It's a nice book. The texture of the cover underneath the dust jacket is this classic kind of, I don't know how to describe it, cloth, like an old school book. And it is very, very nice edition. I'm glad I have it. Now, for me, I'm not going to get rid of my singles for this because, one, it only collects the first 12 issues, and two, it's the same size artwork. It's not oversized. You got to get an oversized edition for me to give up my singles. Yeah, and even then I might not in some cases. King of the double and triple dips over here. So anyway, this does have a beautiful wraparound cover by Jim Starlin and Al Milgrom, and it's the coloring. It looks painted to me. I think it is by Richard Isanove, who is one of the industry's greatest colorists, in my opinion. So for me, this is a 10 out of 10, no doubt. Even at this normal size, it's still a very, very handsome book. It's nice. Now, let's get back to the mystery of this thing. The copyright dates inside this are 2003, 2005, 2006. So early 2000s. And I know Jim Starlin did some Kickstarter stuff, so I thought, well, maybe this was a Kickstarter that never sold out, and that's what this is. Then I got to looking, and Kickstarter didn't start till 2009, or 8 or 9. So I'm still confused by this. And so I have another concept, maybe what happened here. This was a soft cover originally, I think, because that is mentioned in the indicia that there were 2 soft covers. So maybe it was a soft cover first, because I mean, even the intro by Walt Simonson is dated, I think, let's see, 2003, I want to say. 2003. So, what is this? Did they release this as some sort of a Kickstarter? Maybe it wasn't Kickstarter. Maybe it was before Kickstarter. Or maybe the soft cover came out 2003 and then this came out later as a Kickstarter. I don't know. But it's limited to 1,000 copies, and mine's number 294. So did they do 1,000 of these and then not sell them all at the $49.99 price point? So they put it out again years later at $29.99, but they forgot to update the flap price. The inside flap of the dust jacket says $49.95. So it is quite a mystery as far as the origins of this particular edition. So if anyone has some insights or their own theories on this, put them down in the comments. Share it with the class, because it's very confusing. I mean, I'm glad I got it for a little over 20 bucks. It was worth that to get Jim Starlin's signature in there, you know, and it's going to have a place on my shelf for sure. But I'm keeping my singles too. so there you go. This is 10 out of 10 for me. It's a standard size hardcover. If you can still find it anywhere, get it. It's worth it. Even at $49.95, it's totally worth it. If you like this material, this sprawling space epic, you know, with this evil bad guy that, you know, is not altogether un-Thanos-like. And that's okay, because Jim Starlin created Thanos. He's allowed, in my mind. But yeah, it's not sure how many of these there are. Apparently there's 1,000 that are signed. So another question, are there editions like this that aren't signed? I don't know. My Google on this subject just made me even more confused as to its origins. But yeah, pick it up if you can still find it somewhere. Totally worth it. That's all I got this week. I'm glad you liked taking a look at this art. If you did, come back for more. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one.